Hi everyone, welcome back to RTS and welcome to the first installment of Monthly Celebrations 2019. Yes, and so all the gals that are involved in this YouTube hop for the entire year will be listed below, and I'm one of them. So I'm so excited that Nicole had asked me to join in, because I think when her and Grace have done this in the past, it's absolutely one of my favorite challenges, because it takes you, it gives you just a moment to stop and look at the season you're in, and to scrap the season you're in, and also celebrate the season you're in. And so of course this is January, and last week I showed my kit that I am going to use for this series for January, and of course I will have that video linked below, and that was part of our kit crunch, where I crunched the numbers, built this kit off a few pieces. And so let's get cracking in our monthly celebrations of January. And of course I have a winter theme for today, and probably for next week that's probably what I'll do. And then what I decided to do was, I had some childhood photos, and absolutely I don't even know if I was born yet in a couple of these. And this is photos that I had been sharing with my family back and forth, and getting some ideas, and where was this and who was this and that. And so I printed them in sepia tone. I used to say sepia for a long time, but one day I decided to look up, and it is absolutely pronounced sepia with a long E, sepia. And then I also did black and white, because I did not know the kit or the papers or the collection I was going to use when I played with these photos. So I printed them in both, and so of course I can tell right off the bat that I'm going to be using the black and white, and I will simply just put these in a leftover box for something down the road. Okay, so I have these 4 photos, and I already know that I'm not going to use this one, but it doesn't hurt to print a couple extra, because you never know where your story may take you. So I wanted to show in this beginning of this layout, how do I start? Where do I begin? Once I have my photos, I have my papers, and I have my story and things like that, where do I start? So for me, I absolutely have to have a springboard, a jumping off, a diving board, something to get me started, because I scrapbook so much. There is absolutely no way I can sit and reinvent the wheel every time I go to scrapbook. So what I do is I rely on someone else to do that. And this layout, and on this video, it's going to be the lovely Laura Whitaker, and I will have I will have the link below for the video to see how you can get this sketchbook. Yes, it's a hunk of a sketchbook for free. So I will have that listed below. And so this is my jumping off point. And of course I have all of my supplies here to my left. I don't have to get out of my seat. And I was just telling one of my subscribers that I find for me that when I'm playing with a kit, or I'm just playing with a certain specific amount of supplies, and side note, hang on, there's a new series coming, yes, that will be talking about that very subject. But anyways, I find that if I have everything to my left, to my right, I find I'm more creative with what I have, because I will spend time figuring out how to use what I have, rather than getting off my seat to go get something new. How that works, I don't know, but I love it and I do it. Okay, so yes, stay tuned, hit the notification bell. There's another new series popping up. We have a lot going to be cracking out the next few months, because I'm going to be home, and I'm going to have to deal with the empty nest again. We're not going to go there. No, okay. So I started with the Laura inspiration. So then I absolutely will take a minute, and I'll look at this sketch. Okay, now this one had 3 photos. I won't do mine in that layout. But if you have taken and looked at our Go-To Design series, and the next installment will be coming up very, very shortly, you can see this is clearly a band design, or you can consider it a block, however, but it's basically a band of paper, a band of paper, and a band of paper. Yes, so it's the band design. And so that just gives me a starting point. And so then I think, okay, well, what papers do I want to play with? What supplies? Everything that she has represented in this sketch, I have paper and some tags. Remember, I pulled some of them in my kit. So it just was a sketch that popped out at me, 3 photos, I'm good to go. Now, one thing about when you're picking an inspiration, and this was something else that Daisy and I have talked about, and Desiree and I have talked about, and I will have both of their channels linked below. Awesome ladies, go check out Daisy and Desiree. And it's one of those things, you can't hem and haw around about everything that you do, because you'll be here for 3 days doing a layout. And I have done that in the past. I have literally spent 3 days on pages. And then nowadays, fast forward, I've been scrapbooking a long time. There's no way, sometimes I even spend 3 hours on a page. I just have too many stories to tell. And I will tell you how I broke that cycle, and that was simply taking the load event, because I had to not only think about what layout I was going to do, I had to create the layout, and then I had to post that layout within a 24-hour time period. You have to make fast choices. And the more you do that, then you start to realize, some of those things I think about really don't matter. And so if you want to break that cycle, I suggest doing a challenge. It doesn't have to be the load event. Do a challenge in where you scrapbook a page for a certain amount of time and give yourself that time limit. And that progression of doing faster pages comes right along with that. Okay, I just wanted to say that. A little bit of chit-chatting, but that's okay. How do I start? There's my springboard, and then I think, okay, what supplies do I want? Now, in this one, since we're doing monthly celebrations, I know I want to be a little bit more creative than I normally do. I don't do super fast pages sometimes, but I want to play. And so this is what I'm absolutely going to play with. I'm going to play with embossing powder, stamps, and maybe paint. Okay, I know I want to play with them, and I also want to play with this. So that is what I put foremost in front of me, is I will put these 4 items. Okay, now this is a mega punch. I mean, when a punch has wings, yeah, that takes it to the mega category, does it not? Yes, cooking with peanut oil right there, baby. Okay, so here is my paint and my embossing. And so even if I don't use it, at least the intention to use it is right there, okay? And then I will just simply pick out some papers, but I have my starting point, okay? Now, in Laura's sketch, you see she has a lot of white space up here. That's where I'm going to get into this right here, okay? I think I'm actually going to heat emboss, do some stamping and some embossing, heat emboss for a background of my paper. That's what I think I'm going to do, okay? And then, of course, I don't have too many other supplies to look through. And I will say, when you're doing a kit, the least amount you put in your kit, the quicker you can make choices, okay? So I know that my title is absolutely, I'm going to get a piece of wax paper, because this is exactly my process. And a couple people had asked me lately, how do I start, how long things take me? And I thought I would just let the camera roll a little bit. And so I already know that my title is going to be, and see, I already feel like I'm proud of myself. Why I do this, I don't know. I have this whole desk, but no, I have everything in this 8x8. It just drives me nuts. And this is why I don't like a lot of trays on my desk. But once I get to be creating, I'll be happy they're nearby. So I already know what my title's going to be. It's going to be Snow Day. Because, now what is going on with this? Oh, this was one of those situations where these stickers did not stick to the backer. So I simply cut a piece of wax paper, and that's how I saved them, instead of falling at the end of the bottom, you know, the bottom of the bag. Okay, so my title is going to be Snow Day, because I had asked my siblings, what did a snow day represent for you growing up? Okay, so I'm simply going to go ahead and put out my title. And this is exactly how I do my process. I get my springboard, the creative things I want to play with, I get them out, and then I start with my title. I do that same process all the time. And if I can't think of a title, then I move on. Okay. Oh, yes. Lovely thickers. They don't stick to anything except the things you don't want it to. Yes, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, I will give you this tip. I have some new subscribers. When you're working on an alpha or a thicker sheet, or any kind of sticker sheet, always work from your outside and work your way in. That way when you go to put them away, it's a little easier for you. They don't keep popping off. Not that thickers pop off. No, they don't. No, yes they do. Okay, so that is absolutely my title I'm going to use. And I'll tell you why I'm using these stickers. Because I want to be creative with these tools. Where did my stamps go? Since I want to be creative with these things, I have to make some other things easier. This is going to take some time. So a pre-made title, thickers, I'm good to go, okay? So that's one thing. If you want to get faster in your pages, only do one heavy creative thing and then make everything else on the page pre-made, like a pre-made sticker, pre-made alpha, pre-made title, things like that, okay? So that is the beginning of that. Okay, and these are what I'm going to use for photos. And I have this. I need to consider where I'm going to use this. I'm probably going to do it down to the bottom where Laura has her punch. That's probably where I'm going to do that. Add some of my enamel dots that I get to play with as far as my Kit Crunch. And what else? I was thinking I would go ahead and pull something because, you know, I have to decide my papers. Okay, and something that draws my attention for some reason is this mittens with the coral. And I think I'm going to use this plaid because this is from the, I would say, the 60s. A couple of these photos are from the 60s, okay? Late 60s. So I think I'm going to use this because that reminds me of all the papers I have. That reminds me of, you know, something of the 60s. So I definitely go by mood and feel. Okay, so I think I will pause there, because I need to get started with my papers, and then I don't pick my embellishments unless there's something I know I want to use, which one of this is the mittens. So if there is something in my kit that I know I want to use, I will pull it off before I even start cutting papers. And what's the chances that this is going to go back in the bag? Well, I guess not. And I will take those elements and put them right with my title. That way I don't forget to use it. And then it also helps me with my inspiration. Okay, so there's my gloves. There's my little mittens because it's snow day. Okay, so that means I will probably be playing with two of these colors. One of these two colors right here. Okay, so that's probably enough chit-chatting. Okay, oh, look what I spy right there. Okay, I think I could get that in there. Maybe. You think I could get my title in there? Look here. This is maybe what I'm doing. I think so. I may do that right there. Why not? Do some playing to celebrate this month of January. Okay, so again, everybody's video will be linked below that's playing along with us. Hop, take some time, celebrate the season, and join in, and come back, and I will have my finished page of Snow Day. Yes, I wish I had an exact year, but these are from different years, but I know they're in the late 60s. Okay, so I will be back with a finished Freezing Season page. Okay, hang on. Okay, so I thought since we're celebrating January, why not celebrate a technique? Yeah, so I thought since we have some new scrapbookers on the channel, I would show how to do some heat embossing. Very, very simple. Has great results, but it takes a little bit of time. And so I'm going to use these cling stamps by Martha Stewart way back in the day. And I already have my design in mind as to where things are going to go. So I simply have two little pencil marks here and here, and my embossing is just going to go basically on this top fourth of this page. No sense doing it where you don't see it. And so what I'm simply going to do is basically I'm going to take every one of these stamps off of, and it's so fun to be doing this because we're going to be getting a snowstorm, and I don't like to get snow, but I'm always thankful when snow happens on the weekend because less people travel, you know, as far as work and such. So this is fun to be breaking out these stamps when there is snow a-coming. Yes. Yes. As my little girl said, there's a hurricane a-coming.
Name that movie quote.
Name that movie quote. No, it's not a movie. It's a TV series. Yeah. So if you know where a hurricane's a-coming. Okay, so I have these stamps, and so I'm just going to play with them a little bit as to where I want them. It's going to be random. Now, I do know back in the day, Nicole Bingaman showed something. She always showed to use your bigger stamps and then use your smaller stamps as fillers. And that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to take these little ones off here, okay? And yes, I think I'll take those little ones off there. And then you see how the bigger ones are. You can, right there's my pencil marks. Then you can absolutely get a big design in your design. Okay, so those are going that way. Yes, this is going this way. Okay, because this has more of a shadow image. And we're just going to play. So right there's 6 and, okay, 7, and I will play with those. Okay, so then what I'm simply going to do is going to get out a, not a platform. I'm actually have to use blocks for this. because I just don't want to do the platform with my embossing powder. So I have my platforms. I still kept every single one of them, and I have them in a Totally Tiffany punch bag, and I simply just have them in this tray, and I slide out, and there, my friends, is my platforms, and I love them that way. Okay, and so I will simply stamp these one by one. I'll probably get one that just fits everything. I'll just get that one. Okay, but I love having my platforms, and they go on the same shelf as my punches. Love that. Yes. Okay, and I'll have the video linked below if you want to see more about those punch bags. And so look, I went ahead and grabbed all that. So I will stamp these, and you have to do it kind of fast because I'm going to use Versamark. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, you know, stamp that, and then I'm going to use embossing powder, and I will sprinkle embossing powder over that. Okay, now I don't speed up my videos, so I really can't show this process, but that's all heat embossing is. You stamp it with VersaFine, okay, stamp it, okay, and I'm going to stamp all these big ones at once. I'm going to do the little ones, these ones, I'm going to do in the second run, okay. And then once I do that, I will take my coffee filter, and I will take my paper, say this was all stamped, and I would take my embossing powder, and I would take it right over this coffee filter, sprinkle it on there. Okay, of course I'm going to take these out of here. Now, why do I use coffee filters? Simply because I don't use coffee filters in my home anymore. You know, we all basically use a Keurig machine, and so I definitely wasn't going to throw these away, and this is what I use to catch my embossing powder, and then when I'm done, just throw it away. Okay, so I have my heat gun. I already made sure it's plugged in, it's ready to go, because this is something you don't want to you don't want to rush through, but you can't just lollygag. No. Okay, so that is how my first run is going to go, and then I will come back and I'll just give you, I'll let you see what it looks like when I'm just done with this part. Okay, hang on. Okay, so I have my stamps with my Versamark, and then I took my embossing powder, shook over that, and now I'm taking a paintbrush simply before I go to my heat gun and just get these little bit of stragglers. Now, I think these all came out really good, if you can see, except this one right here. I'm missing a point. I may try to fix that, or I might just not even worry with it, because in life, nothing is perfect. No. So, I am just tapping that off. I will go to my heat gun, but that's what it looks like. Now, I am using white embossing powder on top of white cardstock. I'm not going for a huge wow factor. I'm just going for a subtle look. The only tip I would say is when you're getting ready to go to your heat gun, make sure this right here is nowhere near your heat gun. I have to go to the right side of my room for my heat gun. I don't keep that near my desk. So, because if you turn the heat gun on and this is on and this is on, yes, you'll have a mess. Okay, so hang on, and I will be back with this. So let's pop back in with a little bit of progress, and I have my paintbrush here because there's these little snowflakes right here, and you can tell there's a little bit of a outline, and so I'm taking my paintbrush and I'm just removing that. I'm going to give it a final shake, because if you don't remove that excess, then when you go to heat emboss, it will be on your page. Okay, so there was just a little bit of an outline. Okay, and I'm going to show you something that happens when you heat emboss. If you get distracted, not that I ever get distracted, but I'll show you something that happens. So I took my paintbrush and I'm just cleaning up. See, I got into that one. That's okay. Okay, that may be covered up. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to these little ones. Can you see how they're a different color? Like, this isn't a finished one. This is just absolutely just with fresh embossing powder on, and I was just cleaning that up, and so that's the difference. Okay, but can you see this spot right here? Guess what that is? That is a burn mark. That is because I was hanging over that paper, that piece of paper, a little too long than I should have, and that's what happens, especially when you heat emboss on white paper, and that's that discoloration. So I already know that there are no mistakes in scrapbooking, just more room for embellishment. So I know I'm going to have to put something there to cover that up. I may absolutely go ahead and try to find another stamp, and I'm going to heat emboss over that, and we'll see how this burn mark, if we can cover that up. So I'm sorry to stop and start, but you know, who wants to watch a heat gun dry this, even though that's a pretty cool technique. But hang on, and I will bring you the final result before I start playing with my papers. Okay, I'm back with my finished page, and I love how it turned out because I got to play, and then I got to be creative, and that's a win-win. Yes, and I absolutely got some heritage photos on here, so absolutely happy about that. And so what I did, as I showed in the previous segment, is that I stamped, did some heat embossing, and this is just white snowflakes on white basil cardstock, and then I took that cardstock and matted it on this Bella Boulevard, and I'll show you what the reverse is. And I used this black to offset some of the black elements I used on my page, and then also too just gave a nice little pop, yes, of this black. And of course, you know, the white dots looks like snowflakes, snowballs, and so that is the back. I don't even know what that is. I have that here somewhere if anybody wants to know that. Yes, it is absolutely called Happy Heart, the Illustrated Faith by Bella Boulevard. That is what that is. And then I also use this Simple Story Freeze and Season. I use this small strip of the house, and I can show that because the back side was a pink. And I love papers like this because you could use it simply as it is, or also cut it out in strips and also die cut it. You know, that's a 3 for 3 in this type of page, and that is called Hello Winter by Freeze and Season. This was one of my kit starters, as well as, if you see this stripe, that was one of my kit starters, and on the back was these cut-aparts. Now, does anybody else do this when you're playing with cut-aparts? Because you never know if you might use this. So you think, okay, well, I want to use this, and so I come over here, and then I pick the row that I don't think I'm going to use. That's how I did that, because I thought, well, the top row, I thought that would be the one I would least likely use. Does anybody do that when you're deciding which cut-apart strip to use? That's what I do. And so that is, I really don't have a lot of pattern paper. I mean, it's this strip here, and it's a 3-inch strip here, or no, it's a 4-inch. A 4-inch strip right here, and then of course matting it in that Bella Boulevard. And then of course I put a strip of washi here, and I wanted to show something because I just have been really playing with washi over the last year. And so I took this washi and of course put it on cardstock, makes it look great. But then if you also, if that's not the design you want, or maybe you want something a little extra, a little more whimsy, which is what this page is, I took 2 rows of washi. Yes, so don't forget that when you're playing with washi, put it on cardstock for an impact, but maybe do 2 rows, one on top of each other, and see what look you get. And that is what I did right here, because it looks like more snow falling, snowballs, that type of thing. And I simply just cut my photos. I already had them in a 4x4 size, cut off that little extra and left a border. And then I had a border strip down here, and that's just came from the branding strip, this little extra blade. And then of course my transparency was another part of my kit starter. I cut a section off of this, cut it in half, because that was what I was allotted to use, was a 6-inch piece on there. And then of course I have my journaling. It's going to go down here. Now if you notice on my journaling, I have 2 strips that make up a long piece. And so what did I do? I did not want to get out of my seat to get another piece of paper. So I had journaling cards. I had this 4x6 journaling card. So I cut 2 strips of this, and then I just met them up right here. And when I put my journaling on top of that, it doesn't matter if you see it. I actually wanted a little bit of a dimension there. It gives another little look, because this is a whimsical page. And my journaling will absolutely go right on top of that. Because as you notice on my photos, I have 1, 2, and 3, which came from my sticker sheet. And boy, was this a doozy. Oh, I think these are fancy pants. And they did not come off with any sticky. Yes, I had to glue those tiny little numbers on there. No, these might be Lily B. But anyways, hard to handle, but I still wanted to use them. And then I will note number 1 in my journaling, number 2, number 3, because these are different years and different locations. And then also too, what my siblings, I don't have a lot of journaling, but when I asked my siblings what was the best part of having major snowstorms when we were growing up, and of course, you know, the answer was no, school. So we all agreed with that. And then of course I have a little tab here, and guess where that tab came from? another journaling card. I cut the top off of that. So I used 2 journaling cards on this page, which was one of my things I want to focus on in my Kit Crunch series. And then I also, too, played with a few enamel dots. I was only allowed to play with one row. And of course, you don't even use 1 row on a whole page. And then the showstopper, the title, and my main embellishment was this frame that is from We Are Memory Keepers. And I never thought in a million years I would use a frame like this, and it just was a happy accent. So I put the title Snow Day, and I made sure I put it in such a place where I had one of my embossed snowflakes, you know, center stage. And then I added an additional glitter snowflake that was part of my kit. I added one of those, and then I added a Pebbles sticker. Yes, from this Frozen, I call it the Frozen sticker sheet. Now, this was ice skates, and I have never went ice skating in my life. I have no desire to ever go ice skating. And ice and water together, no, that's not fun. And I put that right on top of that, put my brad through the hole, put some black twine and a button, because, you know, winter coats, that type of thing, and put a few of these My Mind's Eye word stickers sporadically in a triangle. And then, of course, the mittens goes with the enamel dots. So again, another visual triangle. So it wasn't a very hard page. It was time consuming as far as the embossing, and I would say that took about 35 minutes. The rest of the page took about 30 minutes. I'd say an hour and 5 minutes for this page. Of course, I don't have my journaling done, but that will be once I'm done filming. You know, some things you just don't want on film. And so that is my monthly celebrating of January. But come back next week and I will have another page using that same kit, because right there's my kit starter, yes, to make up that kit. And again, that video will be listed below as how we made our kit in this Kit Crunch series. And definitely look below to see what the other girls on this YouTube hop are scrapbooking and sharing in this YouTube hop for January. And so again, I'll be playing with it again next week, so hit that notification bell. And I have something else coming up. Always have something coming up, but you know, you have to have, everything's got to be fresh and fun to stay enjoyable. That's how I look at it. I love to mix things up. And so again, the embossing was a main embellishment, so everything else I just kept easy. And that's how I do it when I have a technique that's like, especially stitching and stamping, things like that, something that takes a lot of time. The rest of my page has to be easy, because then who wants to sit here for 3 days and work on a page? No, I have another story I want to tell. So thanks for hopping along, and if you're new, please subscribe. We have a lot going on here, always do, and I have awesome subscribers that talk among themselves, they share, absolutely wonderful. And that is all I have for this video, for this start to finish. And come back next month on the 15th and we'll be doing another monthly celebration for February. Can you guess what that'll be? Yes, okay, so that's all I have for today. Come back to RTS, because you never know what we're gonna learn. Bye.